Hey, hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining here today in the evening. Lottie Files Chennai are very proud to host and glad to host Debanjana Haldar. She's a product motion designer and a freelance motion designer from Vivid Books. Um, yeah, welcome you all again to the After Effects practices for Lottie optimization. So, for those who don't know about Lottie Files, it's a platform for testing, collaborating, and discovering a community of animators, designers, and developers all across the globe. We have like several citywide chapters. You can check lottifiles.com to know about the community more. And these are like few use cases like you can see where Lottifiles can be used. And there are almost like 130,000 plus companies already using Lottifiles in their products, like be it a website, a web app, or a mobile application. Great. I believe you all got an idea about Lottie files for those who don't know. And today we have the session like After Effects best practices for Lottie file optimization. And our speaker, like we have Debanjana here. She's a freelance product motion designer, and she's also having an experience of 3 years in designing Lottie files and motion design. Yeah, over to you, Debanjana.
Hello, hi everyone. It's so great to be here. Hi Sandeep. How are you?
Doing great, Debanjana.
Yeah. So a little bit about me. I'm Devanjana. I'm currently a freelance motion designer at Vivid Books. So I've been working with Lottie JSON files for over 3 years now. So in my journey using Lottie files for animating and animations in apps, I've learned a lot of ways in After Effects, few tips and tricks that help you optimize your Lottie files a lot. So I'm really excited to share them with you today. So that's what my presentation is going to be about. Yeah.
Cool. We can get started, Debanjana.
Yeah. Can you share the presentation? Yeah. Okay. So there you have it. Yeah. Just an outline of what I'm going to cover today. I'll just talk about Lottie optimization and setting up your file, and then I'll move over to talking about few After Effects tips and tricks and animation techniques, basically, that will help you optimize your Lottie file. And then we'll end with a small live tutorial with the effects that, with the things that you learned, and I'll cover today. And then you can ask me anything. Yeah. So moving on, I know most of you would already know what a Lottie file is, but just to reiterate, a Lottie file is a JSON-based animation file format. So it uses JavaScript. It's a JavaScript object notation file format. So basically, you can say it's a data representation file format in which how the animation is going to look like, be like, is all described in code. And because it's described in code, they are extremely small files, and they can scale up and down in any device without pixelation. So yeah, that's what a Lottie file is. Now, you may ask, like, a Lottie file is already so small, so why optimize it? Like, obviously, when you can optimize, you should optimize, because obviously optimization means smaller file sizes, which means faster load times and reduced bandwidth across all platforms and internet conditions. And also, especially in cases where your app is animation heavy, it's very important to optimize all the animations. Wherever you can optimize, you should optimize. Yeah, so moving on, I'm just gonna go briefly about talk about how you can import your Figma file into After Effects. So you can use this plugin called AEUX, and it's available on aeux.io. You should download and install it for both After Effects and Figma. The installation process is super easy. You just have to go to their website, AUX, and you'll be set up in no time. All the instructions are there. So once you have set up the plugin, and you have your Figma design file ready, the main thing that you need to make sure that you do before importing your Figma file onto After Effects is to ungroup your Figma layers. So you see on the right here, there is a picture, that's my Figma design file. And then you can see there is the frame, and then there are vectors and ellipses. That is the design that I've made on the left, on the right that you see. So all of these are ungrouped. So make sure that you ungroup them, because ungrouping is essential, because when you import it into After Effects, if you have grouped layers in Figma, then they will make unnecessary shape layers that will just bloat the animation file. So you should ungroup your Figma layers. That's the main thing. And also one more thing is, on the left, you see the AUX plugin, how it would look like on After Effects. You should make sure that you have your detect parametric shapes checked, because then all your shapes will be imported as parametric shapes and not paths, which we will come to in a few minutes when I talk about the techniques that you can use. So yeah, ungroup your layers and set the required parameters in the AUX plugin. That depends on your design, how you want your file size and everything to be, and then you just import it. It's very easy, super easy process. Okay, now we come to the main thing. After Effects techniques that you can use to optimize your animation. So today I'll cover 6 techniques. Now the first one being, okay, so a quick sneak peek of what you're going to learn and how it can help you. So this animation is a free animation that I downloaded from Icon Scout. So you can also download the AEP files from Icon Scout for free. And I was able to reduce this animation size by 48% using the techniques that I'm going to show today. So just imagine how much your app will be lighter if you could, optimize all your animations by around 50%. Okay, so moving on, the first point, parametric shapes versus Bezier shape paths. So in After Effects, a lot of elements and shapes use the concept of paths. Now, paths can be of 2 types, parametric shape paths and Bezier shape paths. Now, parametric shape paths are defined numerically, and they mainly constitute the geometric shapes, which you can make with the rectangle tool. On the left, you can see the rectangle tool that is there. And you can change these parameters in the timeline itself. Whereas Bezier shape paths are defined by a collection of points and vertices, and basically lines and points, you could say. These vertices are the path points. So I'll just move to After Effects to show you what exactly it looks like. 1 second. Yeah. So here you can see, so the GIFs are not working in the presentation, so I'll just show how the animation looks like. So this is a sort of, this is a simple sparkle animation. And in one of the animations, I made it using, this current animation that you see right now is made with a parametric shape, using this rectangle tool. You can use the polystar star tool to make the shape. So you can see you have numerically defined attributes here. So points, position, rotation, inner radius. So this is what a parametric shape is. Now I've made the same animation with paths. So here you can see there's just one attribute, which is the path. Now this, see, you can see now these on the right, wait, let me just change it to red or something so you'll be able to. Yeah, so you can see these are the path points. So you can change it in the composition panel. So paths are edited in the composition panel, whereas shapes are numerically defined that are that you can change through or edit through these, inner radius, outer radius. Here you can just change it and yeah. So now when it comes to Lottie files, parametric shape paths are rendered lighter than Bezier shape paths. So you should remember this because say your animation is using a lot of circles and geometric shapes and all. So when your animation is using a lot of geometric shapes, you should make sure that you are using parametric shapes and not paths, because if you use paths, then that would make your animation file heavier. But yeah, now obviously now along with this, I would mention that obviously you can't make more complex shapes and organic shapes with just the rectangle tool or the square circle tool, the parametric shapes that is. So you would need to make your designs with paths. So for more complex and organic shapes, you would need to make your designs with Bezier shape paths. No, so this brings me to the next point, which is that the next item in the slide, I'll just move over to the slide. Yeah, so the next point is the number of vertices in your Bezier shape paths. So when you're using a Bezier shape path for more complex shapes, you should make sure that the number of points, that is the number of path points or the vertices that we mentioned earlier, is less. So as less as possible, because the more the number of vertices you would have in your animation, the heavier your animation file would be. So this is a simple dialer animation that I had made. So in here, I was able to optimize it by 24% by reducing the number of path points. So you can see this image here. The image below has lesser number of path vertices, whereas the image above has more number of path vertices, so that is heavier. So that would lead to a heavier rendered Lottie animation. Okay, so the next point. Now, this is also an important point, is keeping shapes in a single layer versus keeping shapes in a multiple layer. So, okay, I'll just move to After Effects. It'll be better for you to show. Yeah, so, okay. Projects. Yeah, third one. Okay. So this is how this animation looks. It's just a simple, dashed animation. So in one case, all the dashes that you see, all the lines that you see are separated in different layers. As you can see here, they are all animating and they are using the trim path animations, and they are all separated in separate layers. So all of these are the lines that you see in the animation. Whereas in the next animation, all the same lines are grouped as shapes in one single layer. So this is something that you could do when you have a lot of elements in your animation. Just group it in a single layer. See, all the shapes are using the same effects and the animation did not change itself. I just clubbed and grouped all the shapes in a single layer. So this is an important point to note, is like when trying to optimize your file, you should group all the shapes in a single layer. That would reduce the file size of your Lottie render. So yeah, as you can see here. Okay, we come back to the slide, the next point. Yeah, grouping paths. Now this is like one of the most important points that you should remember. Like even if you don't do the other things, I would definitely tell you to absolutely not miss this, is grouping paths with similar styles together. So in one case, so you in your animation, you might have elements that use the same stroke style or animation. So when you have elements like that, where it uses the similar where a lot of different paths or shapes uses the same stroke or fill and everything, you should group those paths together instead of keeping those paths in separate groups with separate strokes and separate fills. So I'll just come to After Effects to actually show you. Yeah. So you see in the first one, it's this is how the animation looks. It's just a simple, very simple animation. In the first case, you have all these shapes. Shape 1 here, shape 1, shape 2, all these shapes, all of these 8 shapes are here. They are in different layers. But if you see the animation, they are all using the same stroke, like the stroke style is what I mean. And they are also using the same trim path animation because they're animating at the same time. So like, I mean, when it starts, it starts together, it ends together. So in this case, what you can actually do is I'll just show you here. So you can just group these paths together. Like I'm just dragging this path here. So you have these 2 paths and then they're using the same trim path and same stroke. So see, the animation itself did not change, but you can group these paths together. So it's one less trim path or stroke animation to render for in Lottie. So in this example, yeah, so all the paths are just grouped together. So yeah, you should do this. You should definitely do this when you have, even if your elements are not animating, they're just in the background or something. And if they are using the same styles or paths, just group them together and make them use a single stroke or a single animation, however your animation is. So this is a very important point. As you can see, I'll come back to the slide, that with using this technique, I was able to reduce the size of this animation by almost 60%. Okay, where's the slide? Can we come back to the slide? Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so using grouped paths, we were able to reduce the size of this animation by 60%. So like this is something you should definitely do. Okay, now the next point is similar to the previous point, but it's a bit trickier to, yeah. So this is something that when you have different layers, you have shapes in different layers, but you have only one single shape in one layer, then you should ungroup that shape in the layer. So this is just the opposite of the previous point, but it relates to shapes in a single layer. Say, for example, when you make a rectangle or something, it's firstly a shape layer is created and then a rectangle group is created in which all the rectangle properties are there and its transform properties are there. So in this case, a rectangle is created, a rectangle group is created in the topmost layer. So in this case, what you should do is when there is one single shape in one single layer, you should ungroup the shape that is inside the layer. So I'll just move back to After Effects to show you. Yeah. So see here, like in this example, this again is a very simple animation. The background, I'm just giving the example of this background. So it's a rectangle. So say if you make a rectangle here, okay. So it's made as a rectangle. I'll just undo this. Say I'm making, for example, I'm making a new rectangle, whatever. Now see, a shape layer is created and then a rectangle inside is created. Now if you're just animating this and you don't need the transformations inside, then obviously this is the way you should go. You should ungroup this rectangle. So just ungroup shapes. Because obviously what happens is when you group them, like a new transform is created. And so even if you have empty groups or you have unnecessary groups, so these transforms actually add to the file size of your Lottie. So it renders, even if it's not animating, it renders as a property in the Lottie file. So that bloats the size of the file. So when you have single shapes in a single layer, ungroup it. Yeah, so that's how you should do. So in this case, in the first case, all of these shapes are made with grouped layers, whereas in the second case, I just made the entire animation with ungrouped layers. So you see all the above layers are also, they're ungrouped. They're not inside any grouped ins. Yeah, so they're not inside any groups. So here there's a group one, rectangle one. So I just ungrouped them. And with this, I was able to reduce it, optimize the animation a lot. I'll just come back to the slide. Yeah. Yeah, so around 40%. So that is also a pretty like good deal, I would say. So yeah, remember this: to ungroup shapes in a single layer, you should like ungroup them, like the unnecessary groups that are created. And obviously, if there are multiple shapes in the layer, you can also ungroup them, but you need to play around with it. Because the After Effects animations are rendered, like the styles are rendered top down, so whatever's in top will render first, and then whatever's below that, the style will render that way. So you should play around and see like if there are multiple shapes inside, like if you ungroup it, how it looks. So yeah, that's something that you should make sure to keep in mind. Okay, now this is the last point that I'm going to talk about today. This is also a very important point, is the concept of using instances, or basically like copies of repeating elements. So when you have an animation where the same elements are repeated, or like an animation is repeating, or there are multiple say there are multiple boxes in the animation, but it's actually the same box. Don't make separate shapes for all of these boxes. Don't duplicate this one shape layer and then just place it. Instead, pre-compose it and then use that pre-composition. So pre-composition, I think most of you would know what a pre-composition is. It's basically like taking a group of layers and clubbing it together in one composition in a layer, in a composition already. So yeah, and all the layers are replaced by this new composition where all the layers are inside. So it's just like making a composition out of all the layers. So yeah, in this case, so there's this animation where it's just a sort of symmetrical animation where one part, you could say, just repeats itself at 120 degrees. Now, what in the second case that you see, the second image, the image down below, is actually this animation made with shapes. Like all the repeating elements are also shapes. But in the first one, it's actually pre-composed. The part that is repeating is pre-composed, and then it is rotated at 120 degrees. So in this, like using this technique, like you will create just one copy of the element that is repeating, and then you can just use it all throughout your animation file. And this will reduce the size of your animation a lot. Like in this case, I was able to reduce it by over 6. This is pretty cool. You should definitely keep in mind to pre-compose elements and and then use those repeating elements as pre-compositions rather than shapes. Okay, so now with the things we learned, we will go and do a small tutorial. I'll just move to After Effects. Yeah, so let me just show you the pre-composition one. Yeah. So this is not pre-composed. If you can see, like, so this is how the animation looks actually. Yeah, so you can see that it's repeating at 120 degrees. Like, this part is repeating. Oops. Yeah, this part is repeating at 120 degrees. Like it's sort of symmetrical, as you can see. Now, so what I did in one animation is it's made with shapes, like all of them are shapes. And in the second one, I just pre-composed all of this. So right click, pre-compose, and that's how you can pre-compose it. And then I just, used it as, and just I rotated it by 120 degrees. So if you can see, these are the same animation composition, like the repeating element, and they are just repeated at 120 degrees. So yeah, this is how pre-composition works. Anyway, coming to the tutorial, I downloaded a pretty cute animation by IMJB on Icon Scout. It's called this file searching animation. Yeah, so we are gonna see how to use the techniques that we learned today and how we can how we can optimize it. Okay. Let me just close the. Yeah. So yeah, let's see. Let's just see how it renders. So this is the original file. original After Effects file. So in Icon Scout, there are many free animations that you can get, and there are also After Effects project files of those animations that you can download. So you should definitely check out Icon Scout if you want to find some cool animations. Okay, coming to this Lottie files. Let me see. It's called file searching. I'll just render it. So this is the Lottie files plugin that I'm using. So obviously we don't like this. This plugin helps us render the animation into the JSON Lottie JSON that I was talking about. Let me just render this. Okay. So you can see here it's around 65.06 KB. Now, okay, let's just go back and we just go to the animation and let's see what we can optimize here. Optimize. Okay, so this is the background layer that you can see. So you can see there are a lot of groups here. So many groups, so there's a lot to optimize here. Anyway, so now see these lines here, all of these lines, they are in separate groups, but they use the same stroke, and see all these strokes have a separate path and a separate stroke. So so we can optimize this by just grouping all the paths together, like I said. So let me just select all these paths. And what I'll do is I'll just group all these paths together with just this one stroke, so that all the paths use just one stroke. That's lighter on the render. Okay, let me see, where is it? Okay, there are still few paths left. Okay, there are 3 more left. Okay, I'm so slow at this. Anyway, where is it? Is this? I'm done? No, there's one more left. Where is it? I think it's this one. No, it's not this one. I missed? Oh, it's the first one. Oh, yeah, it's the first one. Yeah, so you can obviously cut and then paste it in the group, but or you can just drag it. So I'm just dragging it here. So you can do this as well. And then obviously, see, the animation did not change. Magic. Anyway, whatever. Okay, so now I'm just gonna delete all these groups, because obviously otherwise then what's the point? The groups are unnecessary. Anyway, see, now we have that here, and can we optimize this? I don't think there is. I mean, we could ungroup this, but let's just leave it for now. Okay, now this is the magnifying glass. Okay, so this so these two groups, they also use the same. 1 second. Let me just see. So these two groups, they also use the same. So you can see fill and stroke. So I can group them together, like group the paths together. That's done. And okay, so even these two, they also use the same path and stroke. This does not have a fill, but I don't think it will change the design if I club them together. So it has a fill path. So I think we're done here. Okay, now coming to this one. Okay, so this is the file. What is? Oh, it's the same file. Yeah. Okay, so we can we? I think we can do the same thing here. 1 second. Let me see if I can copy paste this, because this is the same one, and it's in the same place. So I'll just delete all of these. So I just copy pasted the previous file, layer. So I don't. Okay, now I don't think we need this because it's not visible here, and also I think because this background, this magnifying glass already has the background, we can remove this one as well. So we can remove this background as well, and I think we can remove few lines as well if you want. why not? I want to delete. I don't want unnecessary layers. Delete. I don't think they're using the end. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, so I can delete this one. Should I delete this? Yeah, it's still there, so I can delete this line as well. Yeah, maybe, I think 3, I can delete 2 more lines. I mean, you all know the drill. You just have to delete, 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 delete. I wish there was a, spell, just, push, delete. But anyway, oh, yeah, and here, since, this is grouped, we can ungroup this. So you can just Control-Shift-G, Command-G, or just, ungroup shapes here. So you can do that as well, and it's the same. So yeah, it looks the same. And okay, let's save it. Let's go to Lottie files. It's file searching. Sure. Okay, see, from 65 to we are at almost 20. So I think I did a pretty good, decent optimization. Anyway, so this was the live tutorial. I'll come back to the slide now. Okay, 1 second. Can we just come back to the slide? Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so there we have it. Yeah, so it's okay. I don't. Oh, yeah. So I don't have the right numbers here because I used. So this is something really exciting. So there is a new feature on Lottie files where you can optimize your JSON animations. I'll just share my tab and actually show you. 1 second. Yeah, so this is not related to anything related to After Effects. So this will optimize your file on top of what you already have. So this is a really cool new feature on Lottie files that you can definitely check out. Say if you don't have access to the After Effects file or something, so you can definitely use this to optimize your Lottie files as well. I'll just go to my dashboard and I'll just show you where it is and how. Okay. Okay. Yeah, let me just see. Where is it? Yeah. I'll share my screen to this window. Sure. Yeah. Can you see my screen? I shared my screen. Yeah. So this is an animation, the last sprinkly animation. So all you need to do is go to download and export, and there you will see there's a Lottie JSON that you can download, and there's an optimized Lottie JSON that you can download. And it's 22% smaller. So the optimized version that I made was 10.4, and now it's 8 KB. So I mean, that's amazing. So you can definitely check it out. It's on the Lottie Files website, the optimized feature. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Now I'm, just to kind of reiterate, the key takeaways are, the first thing is when you're importing a file from Figma, ungroup your layers, and then the major points that you should remember, is ungrouping the single shapes inside the shape layer, pre-composing repeating elements. So just repeat whatever's repeating, pre-compose them, and then use it instead of duplicating the same layers. When using Bezier shape paths, remember to keep the vertex count to a minimum. And then obviously when having paths that share the same style, group those paths together. So yeah, those are the few techniques that you can, at least start off with to optimize your After Effects file and animation for the Lottie renders. And I hope you enjoyed this optimization talk, and I'm open for questions now. I actually can't read the comments. Can you share? Okay, let me. Okay. Okay. How to optimize a 3D sequence, JPEG or PNG files? So Lottie does not entirely support 3D sequences, and I'm not sure when you say JPEG or PNG files, but for GIFs, I mean, there are lots of tools available online that you can use to optimize your animations. Or also, even when exporting from Adobe itself, there is an option to kind of export it in the PNG 8 sequence or PNG 24 sequence. So play around with that and see how you can, optimize your JPEG and PNG files. And also the techniques that I showed, like if you render those animations in GIFs, they will be smaller as well. Like so, I tested it out as like when I was rendering it as GIFs. So yeah, I think I'm not entirely sure about 3D because Lottie does not support 3D. So I mean, yeah, you can use for PNG files and GIFs and all. You can use a lot of tools that are available online. Okay, is there? What is the next? Okay, I see a question like, what AE effects can you use and not use while working with Lottie files? Say, can we use the repeater or echo effect or any generative effects? So no, I don't. So there is so you can go on to the Lottie files website or Airbnb website / Lottie features. There is this whole list of features that are actually supported. So those are the features that are supported. So other than that, no After effects and presets are supported, but obviously we can play with the features that are already supported. It will be a bit tricky and the animation might be heavy, say like for example fake 3D in 2D and things like that. And also yeah, so I think we need to play around with the features that are already supported so that it can be used in Lottie files. Yeah, so it's still in development. A lot of these features will be added, so I'm sure like for now they are not supported. There was one more question, I think. Did I miss a question like that you showed? Which pixel size composition do you prefer for your animations? So with Lottie files, actually, you can animate in any composition size that is, you're comfortable with, because then you can just scale it up and down. So for me, I personally work in like 500 by 500. It's yeah, for animations that we are using specifically for Vivid Books, and it depends on depending on what platform where the animation will be used. So it depends on that.
So Debanjana, like we do have few more questions at the time of registration.
Oh yeah, sure.
So yeah, so in your experience, how is an ideal workflow with the developers in a Lottie with complex animations and lots of interactions that have?
Developer workflow. Okay. So the thing is, there's this really cool plugin called Inspector Spacetime. So I will link to a document after this session is done. I'll link to a document and I will list down all the resources there. So yeah, but this plugin called Inspector Spacetime can actually help you give your motion specs to the developers, hand it over, so that the developers can actually use them in their product and code. So yeah, Inspector Spacetime is a plugin that you can use, and also there is I think there is a Lottie files live on motion specs handover and motion handovers itself. So I think you should definitely check it out if you want some in-depth answer about how to give hand over your motion design files to the developers. Yeah.
And one more thing, like why do gradients and trim paths not render correctly sometimes on Lottie files?
Okay, so gradients, only gradient fill is I think my internet is down, so I just turned it from my phone. I don't know, my laptop is just it's all over the place. The internet in my laptop. I don't know. I'm connecting, but it's not working. Did I miss like I don't know how much I told. Like, what was the last thing that you heard
So
from my
yeah, the
end?
question is like why do gradients and trim paths not render correctly sometimes on Lottie files?
So as I was saying, only gradient fills work on Lottie files, so it should work, and trim paths as well. Trim paths should render properly. Make sure you have the plugins updated to the latest version, and also make sure that your layer sequences, I mean, the shapes inside the layers are in correct order, because that might also mess up how the animation is rendered. So all the effects are rendered top down. So the first, whichever effect is first, that will render first, and then whichever effect is below that, that will render after that. So just play around with it. Like, obviously I can't tell exactly why it's not rendering for you. It might be some other issue as well. I would need to check the file for that, but I mean, of course, you're feel free to reach out to me with any problems in my email if you have any questions or doubts specific to Lottie rendering and optimizing Lottie. Yeah. Uh,
So yeah, the next question is like how to train your
Hello.
UI team members. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I can hear you. I can hear you.
Yeah. So
I can hear.
how to train your UI team members to also learn about micro interactions. I will also add some part to this, like how much level of understanding that the UI team should have when it comes to motion design.
I mean, in order to work with motion designers, UI designers don't need a lot of like, they don't need to, because like all the they are making all the vector files and designs in Sketch, Figma, Illustrator, and all of them have, like, After Effects has plugins to actually import all of them into After Effects, and then you have Lottie Files plugins for all those softwares as well. So in that regard, no prior information is needed, or but when it comes to learning about micro interactions and motion UX, there's this YouTube channel called Motion UX, I think, and they talk about motion specifically for in UX, like how it can be used for UI motion and to improve the UX of apps. So maybe that. But yeah, I will link. There are a few more resources. I'll link them in the document. So make sure you just read the document, and wahan pe I'll also link to other resources as well, so you can check them out for yourself, and all these files will also be there, so you can play around with the files as well to see, like, the how much it's optimized, how much you can optimize, play around. So yeah, just have fun with optimizing. Okay.
Yeah, we have just one last question. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, how does dynamic text work in both iOS and Android? I had tried out; it was breaking in one of the two platforms. So this was the question.
Okay, yeah, so text is something that is rendered by Lottie files, but it's actually a bit messed up, like how it's rendered, because often it takes into consideration the font and the platform where the Lottie file is being rendered. So when using text, I would suggest to convert it into shapes and then animate it, rather than using the text animations inside the as a text layer itself in the animation. So just convert it in. There is an option, right click, if you go on After Effects, right click, convert text layer to shape. So just do that, and it will be converted into shapes, and like the Bezier shape paths that I talked about, and then use that, because that is the best way to actually render your text exactly how it looks in your design file. Because otherwise you might not it might look like, I faced this problem myself. Like, there was this text file, and then it looked weird in Android, and in some devices it looked like, out it looked really weird. So when you're using shapes, then they are rendered exactly how it looks in the design file. So I would suggest to do that.
Great. And also, like, I would also like to hear from Kishore. Like, we have our in-house expertise. Kishore, like, what's your take on this? Like, the most
So yeah, thank
visible option.
you, Sandeep. So I actually made Sandeep to cue me in, and so I have another alternative option if you are looking
Yeah,
to use text. So in some cases, you might not be able to use shapes because of all those individual animations that you made for text. So in that case,
yeah,
what you can do is you can create those text and place those text outside of the frame. So why I'm suggesting you to do this is because the Lottie file has to know how the text looks like. So if the Lottie file does not know how it looks like, so it might have some problem rendering it. So I would suggest you to try this out. So it is not like a
okay.
complete alternative solution, but
And
it might work in some cases.
okay, like so
Sorry.
all the text, like all the text letters will just be out of the frame. Is that it?
Yeah, out of the frame, or you can just
Hello,
hide it, or you
out
can.
of the frame.
Yes, out of the frame or backside some of the uh, if you have some shapes you can place it backside. So it's just a quick hack to make it
Okay,
work.
okay.
So yeah, that's my take on this. And so yeah, you can just carry on with other questions which people have asked in live chat. So I'll just add it in the screen now. So I'll just
Yeah.
uh, go behind the screen now.
Yeah. So, if you guys have any questions, like, please do drop it in the chat.
Okay, so I see. Could you answer the last question about gradients and trim path? At the, like I said, like I would need to see the file as well to exactly understand why the gradients and trim path is not working for you. But it should work. Like make sure all the plugins are updated and all, and about the layers, the sequence of layers as well, and gradient. Make sure that you're using gradient fill, the fill option, and it has a gradient option inside it. So, yeah. Can you share the most complex Lottie? I can't actually because it's for Vivid Books, and but you can actually check out the app. Like there is this. We came up with this new app for phones directed at kids for STEM learning. It's at vivido.com, vividoo.com, and so the first few lessons are free in that, and it's a very very interesting. I had so much fun working on it. So yeah, there in that app there are a lot of animations that are really complex. Like so we made a lot of 3D things, but they are like all fake, like fake 3D, not actually 3D. But uh, so yeah, like I can't share it, but if you do use Vivid Books, then maybe you can see them. Anyway around to use AE effects to make it work in Lottie. I wish, but yeah, Lottie, there are only a few features that are supported by the Lottie framework. So like not all the After Effects features are supported. After effects are supported. So yeah, like the only way to work around it is depending on like the kind of effect you want to simulate, and then using the features that already work, using those to actually see if you can kind of um, uh, make that effect that is easily done with the After Effects effects. Yeah, but yeah, otherwise like Lottie won't render any of the effects or expressions or things like that. So yeah.
Yep. I think like we are good with the questions, Devanjana. Yeah, there
Okay.
isn't any more questions. Yeah, and for everyone, if you really look forward to contents like this from Lottie Files, and please do check out our social handles like Lottie Chennai in Instagram, Lottie India YouTube, and you can see the live stream there. Even after, like, if you have missed some part, like in the during the early event, you can also check it out there. And we have a community in Discord. Please do check it out. And for, like, we have like a mix of designers and developers out there to support the Lottie aspiring Lottie designers. Yep. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining. Yep. Thank you, Devajana, like for being with us today and sharing your
Thank
knowledge
you.
and
Thank you for having me.
experience here.
Yeah, I enjoyed it so much. Like, thank you for having me. Yeah, and obviously, if there are any more questions, you can email me, reach out, and obviously do share the document as well. Like Sandeep, I'm talking to you. Just share the
Yeah,
document as well with them, so that they can,
sure.
go through
We
it.
will
There
drop
are
it
few
alongside
more
the
things.
feedback form.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.